Welcome back to the TikTok Show. I am your host, Ryan Heelan, and I could not be more excited about today's guests. We have Matt and Eli from the music group Two Friends. Guys, thank you so much for being here.
Our pleasure. Thanks for having us.
Now, really quickly, introduce yourselves for those people who might not know a lot about you guys.
I'm Matt. This is Eli. We are Two Friends. We are a DJ duo. We make original songs, remixes, mixes, all the above. Play shows, except this year. And we are here in Los Angeles in our studio right now.
Awesome. Now, I know you guys have grown up together, but how long have you known each other and how long have you been making music together?
So yeah, we grew up together in LA. We went to middle school together. So met each other in 7th grade back in 2005. So it's been 16 years. But we didn't start making music till the very, very end of high school. So for middle school and high school mostly was just being friends, hanging out, whatever, doing normal stuff. And then end of high school, we kind of just thought, we both have an interest in music. We could be a good team together. So we kind of just formed Two Friends. And
yeah, I mean, Eli was already kind of playing with when mashups were like just kind of starting. He was playing with that. I was playing guitar and I was like the worst in our choir and stuff. Came from two different sides of music. And then we're like, all right, maybe we can do something. Didn't even know what becoming a DJ really meant at that time, to be honest.
Right. Now, did you guys have separate passions in music, or did you guys know that you both had interest in music, or was it something that, 2 years into the friendship, you're like, oh, you like music, I like music, we should make music together?
I think we definitely knew from the start that we both had interests and passions for music, but it kind of, I think, had I was listening a little more to hip hop. Matt was a little more classic rock, alt rock. But then it kind of merged closer together towards the end of high school. We started I think we went to Coachella a couple times, and that was a big part of it, where EDM and dance music and DJs were kind of just becoming this new phenomenon. And we kind of merged some of our interests together. And that's we thought it was a cool new place to get involved, and, not as high barriers to entry. Just get a laptop and we literally Google search what's up if we want to be DJs. And right. We're cool, Pro Tools, sign us up.
Not even software.
Yeah.
Stuck with it 10 years later.
And so I think that's been cool is we do kind of have some, not crazy different backgrounds, but we got to bring a little bit of our backgrounds together into a melting pot of what our current style is now.
Right, for sure. Now, you said you went to Coachella and that kind of influenced you guys getting into the EDM, but, Matt, you were into the alt rock, and Eli, you were into the hip hop. So how'd you guys meet at the point of let's just start DJing and mixing music?
Funny thing is, I think we both, honestly, I wasn't even super into electronic music. Our senior year of high school, that was when Tiesto and Avicii were kind of starting to pop mainstream.
Right.
And kind of into it, but I wasn't super into it. And I think Eli was kind of getting into it too. But when we were first oh, let's be a producer duo, whatever, we were we didn't even know what we were going to make, literally. We started off with hip hop beats, I think partly because they were just technically easier than trying to make
right.
a progressive song at the time. So we're just all right, we'll make these beats, send them to rappers. And we like that stuff too. But then eventually it's I don't want to wait on someone else. We want to be the artist, So
right.
Then as we became more experienced producers, we could start making what we wanted to, that stuff that was wow, Avicii's making, that sounds really dope. And obviously it takes years to do it, and it took us forever. Yeah. I think we kind of got to electronic music through, two ways, time and also wanting to be our own artist.
Now, you guys said this kind of happened towards the end of high school. So was it you graduate high school and you say, hey, Mom and Dad, I want to go make music, or was it an even longer process than that?
Yeah, so we went to college. We split up for college, and neither of us went to school specifically for music. We took a couple classes on, here and there. But yeah, this was all kind of happening at the end of high school after we had already, decided where we're going to school. And so it was more a on the side thing that we, obviously took very seriously and put a lot of time in. And I think it was towards the end of college when we're kind of realizing okay, obviously it's been a goal of ours that we could do this full time right after school, but towards the end of college, like, okay, like we're very close now. Like we're
Yeah.
going for this no matter
I would say,
what.
but by the end, like even junior year, we were like, all right, I think we're in a good position. Because
Yeah.
even freshman year, like when we honestly barely knew what we were doing, like we were basically treating like a full-time job that we didn't do.
Right.
You know what I mean? So we were pretty
Yeah.
serious right away.
And we're also very lucky and, grateful for our parents, like supporting us, where I think a lot of the pressure was actually on ourselves from ourselves in terms of like, it's like, if people thought like, oh, you guys just went to college and now you're just going to go back to the basement studio to try to be DJs, like the pressure's on us to basically prove to ourselves, like, yeah, we could, go down different routes, but like, we will make this work. We're going to work our asses off. And, like,
And college
Right.
was like a for us to do it with a little less pressure.
Yeah.
You guys did a remix to Lana Del Rey's "Born to Die," is that right? And that was kind of like one of your first big hits.
Yeah. That one, that was definitely an interesting one because that was like New Year, and we actually just like did it because this guy that we're still friends with that runs the SiriusXM BPM channel, he was like, yo, you guys should remix this. So we just did it, sent it to him. They started playing it. I'm not exaggerating. Like literally an hour later.
it wasn't finisch. We sent him a
wasn't
version
finished,
saying
yeah.
like, does this sound close? And he's like, guys, like check your radios in an hour.
Yeah,
And
for
like,
real. We didn't have
So-
cars. So mom, do you have
Yeah.
Sirius?
Yeah.
But so basically they started playing it and then we're like, oh, well, we need to release this, obviously. But that was definitely like one of the little victories that like helped, us propel a little bit. But like at that point, a lot of managers started to hit us up. But yeah, that actually was a moment. I haven't thought about that in a while.
So what was one of the challenges? Because, I think we see a lot of people wanting to pursue a music career now, which is great, but that can make it a little bit harder to separate yourselves from people who are doing music. So what is one of the challenges growing as a musician, artist, DJ in 2019, 2020?
I think it changes every year, first of all. It's like
Yeah.
the coolest game ever.
and I think, there's a lot of pieces to the pie. Like, every now and then there are a couple people who can kind of have somewhat of an overnight success, have a huge hit and kind of, speed through the process. But for 99% of people, it's like, you're basically doing it. You're doing, the music's always the focus, but then you got to think of social media. You got to think of the booking side. You got to think of marketing. You got to think of all these ways to kind of like, it's basically a company. And
Right.
like, you could have the best songs, but if you don't have like more of the pie, sometimes it kind of can get lost in the shuffle.
Because a lot of people have good music, especially
Yeah.
the barriers to entry. Like 10 years ago, they were low. Now they're
Mhm.
not. Literally
Yeah.
doesn't exist. So, there's so much good music coming out. There are so many people getting into music production. So it's extremely competitive. At the same time, it's never been easier to like learn how to make music. It's still
Right.
hard. You got hours, but like it's competitive right now. So, things like TikTok pop up like 3 years ago, and it's like that is a game changer for some people. Some people completely irrelevant. They already kind of got to a level where they don't need it. But every couple of years, like the game has changed. SoundCloud used to be a huge part of it when we were starting, and now it's like you think about it maybe 0.5% of the time. So
Right.
it's just quickly. So you got to be like either a industry like leader, first person on it,
Mhm.
or got to be consistent and like keep the fans happy. Whether it's 5 people, grow it to 7, grow it to 10, and
Right.
if you consistently come with music and content and like your voice and people are attracted to it over time, it can become a lot of people.
Yeah, no, that's I think that's right because so many people are trying to do the same thing. You do have to just diversify yourself into everything you can. So yeah, that's really good advice. Now,